Hello. So I guess that some of you had an experience in the metro this morning, maybe at Châtelet-Léal, where you always have a crowd. So it's very crowded during the morning, and it's not very comfortable, not very nice to be in a crowd usually. And crowdfunding is a place where crowd is supposed to be a nice thing to have. So I started this research about the crowdfunding platforms at ESCP Europe. My first question is really, where is the crowd? So first thing first, can you characterize this crowd? So is there a crowd? What is this crowd about? Then the question is, why is there a crowd? Okay, so can we explain the reason why you have so many people in the crowdfunding platform? And then could you help people to have this crowd, to build projects and unleash creativity, just like Vincent Ricordo explained earlier? So first question, is there a crowd? The most fascinating example is probably about this guy, Barack Obama. He launched a lot of crowdfunding campaigns already, not on platforms of crowdfunding, but through social media. And basically, about 50% of the donation were raised from people who gave less than $200. So that's the typical example of crowdfunding. If you look at all the definitions about crowdfunding, you have three main criteria. First one, you need to use social media. Second, you have a large audience. And third, people give you small amount of money. So that's what Barack Obama did, and he did it in a very nice way. Now, most of us are not Barack Obama. So what's happening for the common people? Well, it's more like that. So that's the typical thing you can find on a crowdfunding platform. So you have three levels. So what we are fascinating about is the crowdfunding on the top of the iceberg, but there are a lot of people very down in the water, and they are very cold. And that's what I call the nobody funding. So it's when you have nobody who fund your project or not enough money comes to your project. And then you have a second type of situation, which is the wedding funding. So you have some money, but probably not enough. So here is the different scenarios. So first situation, for instance, in a platform like Kickstarter, you have about 50% of projects which will not find any money, not enough money. So that's what I call the nobody funding. And for these people, crowdfunding can be harsh in terms of experience because they won't be able to fund their project and their connection, their network is not good enough, or they cannot find the way to connect with their network to get the money. Second scenario is more like the wedding funding. So when you have your wedding, you probably have some friends and family, they give you gifts, they give you money, and that's what you're going to get. So then when you have a lot of friends, large family, you have more money, but that's basically it. So your friends and family, that's the guys who support you. And sometimes, as you don't have enough money, you have to give money to yourself to end the campaign. And then, so that's what we call the strong ties. So people who are very connected to you and who are ready to give you money. Then they might have some also weak ties, so people that you know mainly because it's a friend of a friend and who might give you some money at some point. Then you have the real crowdfunding, which is minimum in terms of percentage of projects, with amount of money which can go beyond 5,000 euros, and sometimes even much more. We can count in millions sometimes. So that's when you find a way to have a strong support from a large audience, a large network with strong and weak ties. Okay, so based on this first situation, it's just facts, can we explain why is there a crowd? So why do people have some crowd who will give money to these projects, and why is there sometimes nobody? So, of course you can have empathy, of course you can have freedom to do things, but there are still some constraints that you cannot move. There are still some things which are beyond your heroism. So that's what I call determinism aspects. So the first determinism is the social capital. If you have no friend, if you have no family, you're going to have a really hard time to find funding. That's obvious, but obviously, we are not equal in terms of our network, and the more you have friends and family, the more you're going to get lucky in terms of funding. Second criteria is the territory. If you launch your project in San Francisco, it won't be the same as if you launch a project in the middle of nowhere. So for instance, if you live in a place with creative people, just like maybe this crowd, people know about crowdfunding, and they're going to be more happier to help you and give you money because they understand what you do. If you are in Tennessee, and if you launch a project about country music, people know about it, and they're going to support you much more than if they don't know about that music. And the third criteria is the industry that you are in. If you are in an industry with, let's say, for instance, you want to find money for a project in a research project for biotechnologies, it's going to be hard to have enough support. Which is not the case for video games, for instance, because video gamers are a lot online, they know a lot about crowdfunding, it's easy to get funding for these kind of projects. Beyond these deterministic aspects, you can still try to make a better scenario for your funds, and that's what I call instrumentation. There are three criteria. So first is to be ready and to get prepared with typical and easy actions, like to have a video online, update your project online, send emails, tweets in your network. That will be really helpful. Second element is what is your platform? Some platforms are more or less famous. Some platforms are specialized. It might be more or less easy for you to get money through a different platform. And third, your project in itself. It has to be detailed, specific, so that people can understand it. So that's things where you can manipulate more or less. All right, so these are the two main dimensions, some that you cannot control and some where you can play with. Then, even if you are successful, even if you have some crowd, there are a lot of dynamics that researchers have explored. So I won't detail all the effects. I'm happy to share the references with you. For instance, there is the path dependency effect, the Matthew effect, or the responsibility effect. So let's take this one, for instance. You probably noticed that in a crowdfunding campaign, you really have a lot of people at the very beginning of a campaign and a lot of people at the very end, and that's due to the responsibility effect. So this effect means basically that if you do not feel like you can make a difference, you won't give as much money as if you feel that you can really, through a funding, create a big difference. So at the beginning, people feel like, okay, I can help this person, it will have an impact. But in the middle, as you raise a certain level, you know that even if you give more, nothing will happen, which is not the case at the end because you have a deadline, and if you do not reach the level at the deadline, you are over. So here people are going back to give money because they feel that they can make a difference. That's why deadlines are so important in crowdfunding. So here, these effects are interesting to understand the phenomenon, and some researchers start to characterize all these phenomena. All right. Then, based on these situations, can you make a difference and try to have a crowd with you? Obviously, if I had the answer, you won't have so many projects with no funded, and I won't be here. So the answer is not easy, but I have some suggestions for you. So first thing is that on the 17th of May at ESCP Europe in Paris, there will be the first crowdfunding event. So if you want to meet guys who did it, who made a successful project online in a crowdfunding platform, just come to this event. So once again, so 17th of May at ESCP Europe, and you will meet all the guys who are from this industry, ready to help you, ready to share with you their thoughts, their experiences. So that's a nice way to start. The second thing is to work on two dimensions. So first one is not about Barack, it's about Mitt Romney, who is very good to use his family to support what he's doing. So you need to work with your strong ties, so friends and family, and we are trying to understand more what does it mean to connect with your family and ask money. That's something we have been doing for years, but it's very different to do it online through a platform. So you need to understand how it works, this marketing of strong ties. And obviously, the second dimension is more marketing of weak ties. So how you're going to be able to connect with people you don't really know to convince them to help you. And if you don't find the right connections between strong and weak ties, you're going to have some problem to support your campaign. So that's a new project that we are currently launching with colleagues from ESSEC and UC Davis. And we are at the very beginning of that project. And I'd be very happy to know more about any ideas, any suggestions, any collaborations regarding crowdfunding, because even if you can find some papers online about crowdfunding, it's very limited. Usually when you do a research project, if you download papers, you can have hundreds, thousands of papers about a topic. For crowdfunding, it's very, very limited. So we need more research to understand that and to understand how we can really unleash creativity for people, which is not so easy to do, because right now a lot of people are under the water and trying to breathe and trying to have more fresh air. And I hope that through projects like that we can make it happen easier for people. So I'll be happy to connect with you about that. I wish you a pleasant day. Thank you very much.